Yes, yes. About to run it again. BlackTax. Up in a barbershop this Saturday weekend. I want to say something about the barbershops though. We have several services, just like the barbershop, that are like cornerstones to the black community. And we haven't been able to capitalize on it yet. Now with a statement towards BlackTax, I'm going to say this. We've seen the stories and stuff where mafia will come along to some of the businesses in the local communities, and what would they do? They would try to make them pay a tax. You got to pay this protection fee. That's how they would do it. We shouldn't have to resort to that if we are the kind of people that's talking about we need better services and assets in our communities. Well, instead of doing all this preaching about coming together, bringing our resources together, one of the things that you know you could do immediately is to make yourself a funding collective and pay for those services and assets to exist in your community. And that's why we be talking about BlackTax. I got a whole lot more to say on the top. Going through the house. There's just one man up here cut, okay? And that's the only one I drink by the bill cut, Big Rod. He's doing the thing. All right, he got a full house. I'm stepping outside. I will add to it by saying this. In every last one of your communities, you always got your peoples that come around. You can these are certified. So let me see if I can turn my camera around. I can't because that finish button is right in front of me. So I'm doing like this. We got the certified community hustlers. All right. We still don't know how to use these people. A tremendous asset to our communities that come out here. You know, you might not notice these people that are selling stuff on these the cornerstones of our communities, right? But they can be a major asset as they contribute to entities that finally recognize what we need to be doing in our communities, setting off assets and services that we won't have to pay for. I mean, when we dream of the day with this barbershop, a barbershop like this right here can be open to the public for free, especially when it's in the heart of the black community. People come by and get their haircuts for free. Why? Why are we doing that? Because there are a few things that we need to learn how to be able to do for ourselves, all right? And some of the things we need to learn how to be able to do for ourselves is to show that we can hold our own economically while we're also headed towards a particular destination, and that destination is autonomy. Everybody not talking about it. Everybody don't want to mention it. Even all the way over in Africa, they're talking about how they have 32 independent nations. And these 32 independent so-called nations are not really completely independent, all right? So take a good look at what I just showed you. You got the barbershop, I done showed y'all local hustlers. We got them all over the place. But until we start recognizing these people and including them in the bigger picture, we ain't gonna get nowhere, all right? So you heard it from Big Boy. You see the title of the live, and that is Talk It Up, all right? Because if you ain't talking about it, your peers, your associates, they ain't gonna know nothing about it, all right? So a lot of people who have already mentioned BlackTax too are busy in their lives. I don't know how often they're talking to their peers and associates about BlackTax, but they are hoping that you might have time to talk about BlackTax. You see what I'm saying? They're hoping that you're gonna hear the word and feel like you're gonna get out there and say something to the folks, right? You're gonna hear the message and you might want to pass it on. They're hoping on that too, just like I'm hoping on that too. So I try to be consistent about spreading the word about BlackTax. And for those who don't know what BlackTax is, it's a tax system of your own. You're already paying tax to the federal government. And a lot of y'all complain about the federal government being responsible for a lot of heinous incidents and a lot of detrimental episodes and events that took place to black people in the black community. But you're funding it. That's what happens when you fund universal programs or entities like the federal government. So it's time to start being a funding collective of your own entities. Several different entities that are going to put services and assets in your community. So no more complaining about how you can't afford this and how you can't afford that. If you understand that you're going to come together to put entities in your communities so that black people can afford these things, you make those things affordable as a collective, meaning they already paid for it indirectly. This is what we're talking about. I ain't trying to fast talk you. I ain't trying to go too fast for you. I'm just trying to lay it down nice and simple. See what I'm saying? Okay, so this might be like a small area, but we got a convenience store on the end, right here. See? Convenience store on the end right here, barber shop right here, and then we got the little restaurant on the end down here. Alright? So you can find these mini malls all over the place. Now, if you out there spreading the word, you're talking to the people, maybe you can do a little something without trying to do the same thing that the mafia did back in the day. The way they always putting it in the movie with the guys coming around talking about, you're going to pay this protection tax. You see what I'm saying? So if you can just talk about it and let them know what it is we're trying to do, eventually we'll have some brochures and we'll have some cards and stuff like that for you guys to be able to pass out to them. But I got to see. I got to see the river flowing. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to see no stagnation. You know what I'm saying? I need to see that there's activity taking place when it comes to spreading the word. Right now, the only thing I have is to get up there and jump on YouTube and see who else talking about BlackTax. I see people who think that they just conceived the idea and they kind of running with it, and I jump in on the comment sections and I try to add some insight on what it is that they're talking about, and hopefully we can all kind of get together and you know, build some more on that topic. So that's yet to be seen. Like, this was just recently, I just found somebody, well, 3 people who popped up on YouTube talking about BlackTax. And this is one of the reasons why I did another live trying to explain to you where BlackTax really came from. Started from the whole African perspective all the way over to Africa when they was talking about just covering the economic expenses for their parents. You're talking about mother, father, aunt, uncle, and stuff like that. And then all the way back to over here in the U.S. where they have to work extra hard. You know what I'm saying? They got to make an extra effort to get ahead. And most people found out that they're not necessarily getting ahead, and the reason behind it is because of racial biases. Okay, so when we talk about BlackTax, I already broke it down on the last live. You have to go to the BlackTax page to get that, and you'll see when we talk about the racial biases that exist and why the title BlackTax is really saying that money is not for black people. So a lot of people get shook up about that and be like, money ain't for black people. Hell no, money ain't for no black people. You turn around, you got an indigenous people, right? Where the information, when you learn about indigenous folk, what you hear is that they was trading and bartering.
This is actually to speak on the barter system. This is like kind of a basic one-on-one. Before we can go forward, we got to get a good knowledge of history, of our story, all right, of our story. Now, as it says right here, it seems strange to us of the modern world.
And all that kind of stuff. You never realized that all this kind of stuff was a lie, right? Just to keep you from realizing that you function and you did a certain thing to make sure that you were completely independent. Meaning you didn't have to depend on nobody for nothing. You was not trading things out of a necessity, not because you needed certain things. You created a network, a bonding relationship that was much like a resource distribution system. So if you had your resources and however you gathered your resources and made your resources available to other people, you had a networking system for that, right? To make sure that no one was delayed in bringing quality to their local area, to the people that lived amongst one another. That's what you had, a system like that. So you don't need a barter system and a system like that. That's how you know they lied to you, right? What happened was someone came amongst you, observed you, and tried to figure out how they could get in and fit in, and they couldn't. And they couldn't. And instead of thinking in a better way, in a more beneficial, intellectual way, they turned into thinking about how the only way they can get in and interrupt was to own something. Because it looked like you were owning something when you were really working with the planet, right? And managing your sharing system with the resources amongst yourselves. So they felt like they had to kind of get in there and get possessive, which we call owning, and then say, if you want a part of this, if you want some of this, right, you have to have some money. You have to have some money. You see? They came all the way over here, surrounded you with the stuff that they brought, made you become enticed. You were so enticed with the stuff that they put around you as an indigenous people that when you inquired, they said, well, if you have some stuff to trade with us, this is how you can get some of our stuff. And all they was trying to do was get a tally on what kind of stuff you had and how you got it. And once they got a tally of all that stuff, they said, we don't need no more of your stuff, we got enough of it. And while you still insisted on getting that stuff, just so you could add it to your category, of resources for your resource distribution system. I told this story time and time again, I'm trying to tell you. So they come up and tell you, well, we have this token, which is money. If you work in these factories where we make our stuff, we'll pay you these tokens, this money, and then you can come back and use it to buy the stuff in our system. Now, long story short, over time, you become seduced with this new value you begin to associate yourself with, right? This relationship with this token, with this money, and it just seduced you. It overcame you. It overcame you. Now, if you were trying to get away from your duties in the field, if for some reason you perceived it as being too much, you wouldn't do other things, you knew that you could abandon those duties because the opportunity to pay somebody to do it existed. So let somebody else do it, and they could be paid to do it, and they could use that money to go get some other things that they would like in their life. Meanwhile, the elders are struggling and holding on to the indigenous ways. All right? But we're here today, using the monetary system, and you don't have a clue. You don't have a clue on what's going on, or what it is that we need to do. Right? We came up with a fight. We had this whole black pride idea. We want to come up and try to heal ourselves with the damage that they done to us, with all this black people should be hating themselves because this is what they look like, living in the jungle, swinging on the vines, you know, they primitive ways. And I mean, they did a deed to make black people hate themselves. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Harry, Dr. Harry, what's happening, man? You know, I'm just going in once again, trying to explain to the people real quick because I ain't gonna be here too long. I got other things to do, you know what I'm saying? But I wanted to come right here to one of the cornerstones in the black community, the barbershop. We're still not really taking advantage of these places like we can. These are our how can I say, venue collectors. We could use these cornerstones as venue offices. I mean, the government have their own already. That's why y'all paying y'all taxes. Y'all paying y'all taxes and all that to the government. But you could use these places. All these people talking about buy black. Let me explain something to you. What are all these black businesses doing with their money besides paying the federal government a tax when you could be paying your own self a tax? That's why we talk about BlackTax. You see what I'm saying? If you have an entity called BlackTax, or an entity that's putting services and assets in your communities that you keep crying about the government need to be doing, right? Then you still subjecting yourself to capitalism every time you talk about buy black, right? So unless that is included in a buy black social, by the laws or the agreement of black businesses, if black businesses don't have an entity that they could pay a tax to, right? Knowing that that entity is going to it's going to do things to raise us above the bar economically, right? So you won't have to be worrying about what our mothers are going through. All our mothers with these kids who can't get into these daycares, we can fund it ourselves. 24-hour daycares, these schools that everybody arguing about, still worrying about what Omar doing with the money. He ain't started no school. There's people already doing it, right? But where they get the funding from? So BlackTax, man, has an anchor into you guys becoming a funding collective. You have to establish yourselves as a funding collective first so that you can see what your power really is, so that you see that you don't have to rely on the government to get some money to fund this project and that project, right? You can do it yourself, right? But you have to see yourselves as a funding collective, not an unconscious funding collective either, like what you did with the Black Panther movie, right? Black Panther movie came out, they done left from $2 billion to $7 billion. $7 billion y'all done raised for these guys for Walt Disney, man. You trying to tell me you can't raise $7 billion for yourself in the black community? What? I'm talking about consciously. If you knew that you could associate with yourself, you could use that kind of identity towards yourself, all that black pride stuff, that would put that to shame. You see? Now people say put your money where your mouth is. Raise $7 billion, you're doing a lot more than just say black pride and try to be proud and doing nothing. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, we're talking about a strong element that you can identify with when it comes to having some pride in yourself. And that strong element, it has to be economic. It has to be where you can feel it in your community. And we refer to economics when we talk about that, right? Some of these companies, when they exercise their racial biases against black people, and you see it take place in these videos that go viral, and what do they do? What do they do to amend their ways? They don't do anything to credit the black community, in an economic way, right? It's usually if the person gets some money, or a person they get a job or some type of opportunity, it doesn't go towards an advantage that at least a small collective can benefit from. You got to keep an eye on stuff like this, man. They're not doing, like, if you're going to sue these guys, you can put pressure on them, say at least you're going to put a service in the community that's going to last for the next 5 years. A service that does things for free up to a certain amount of money. You see? Just services the community for $10,000 a month in free services. Okay? Boom. Spread it out. I mean, it could be written out, the contract could be written out, but all I'm saying is we got to become focused on making sure that when we want something wrongs to be right, make sure that it is made right by giving us an economic benefit. But we're not thinking about stuff like that. So we gotta spread the word, get people to start thinking about saying stuff like that. Because some of y'all, you get lucky and you get on media. And when you get on media, you don't say the right thing. So we got to start saying the right things. Yep. Instead of saying sue or get that check, we got to start saying, yep, community just got a store. Community just got a free barbershop or mechanic shop. You know what I'm saying? We just got a mechanic who's paid to fix cars in the community for free. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so you put that money, man, in the community to where it's going to affect us economically. Because you got a lot of people out here that's still not getting what they deserve to get when they work in these jobs, man. So what's going to make their money stretch? What's going to make their money stretch? All these black businesses want to pop up, right? And y'all already arguing about what kind of discount they're going to give y'all, right? So we can end all that by making sure that we putting up money to take care of these people so they can be a benefit to us in our own communities economically, step by step, business by business, right? But businesses got to contribute to it. First, you got to be aware of what it is we're trying to do. Like what we're going to do with the black dollar. MTV just supported a black female who did her editorial on how there's like 300-something billionaires, and out of all of them, there's only 3 black billionaires. And she went into this whole rant about why the imbalance exists, right? So when I think about that, one of the things I want to say to that is, man, here we go. It's just like one more game with LeBron James. Everybody want to talk about how these athletes and these rich people or these successful businesses should be held accountable for their capability to contribute greatly to our community. And that's BS. That's BS, right? Simply because you don't have enough people amongst you trying to incite you to become a collective to do it. That means that a lot of you guys who consider yourself poor, you have a dime or a dollar to contribute collectively, right? So that you can affect the benefits that you want to see in your economy within the millions. You weigh in on the millions and the billions. But you don't want to do that. Because you don't want to see yourself as a collective. Like as if that is a very hard responsibility, right? A dollar or a dime is not that hard. It's not breaking your pockets, right? But you're saying a whole lot when you do it as a collective. I hope you're getting the message. I'm trying to bring it home. You know what I'm saying? So that you guys can tell other people, so you can learn how to express it to other people. So, and I keep trying to tell you, right, why the name BlackTax is there, right? So I'll break it down as much as I can, as often as I can, but I want to say that if you come up with your own entity that is to operate like this, you don't have to call it BlackTax. Because I got another one called Philanthropy Life. You know what I'm saying? Got another one called Bureau of Paradise. You know what I'm saying? And it all caters to the same thing, right? Putting services and assets in the communities that are going to strengthen the economic system for at least the black community. And we want them to copycat off of us. You see what I'm saying? Because most of you who travel, you know that you're going to be looking forward towards a benefit from people who copied off of us. It's like, oh, I get to come here, You know, you might run into a place that has a convenience store for free, right? Simply because the significant type of people in that community heard the message and wanted to fulfill having an entity like this in their community, and then boom, you run into it and you benefit from it. Whether you on your last dime or not, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? The fact is that when you start seeing more of it because of messages like these, then you know that we're doing something. And for those people who like to say, I want to do things to make the world a better place, right? And if they don't want to start with the black community, then you can expose them as being a hypocrite. So this is a global complicity. You see what I'm saying? It is a global complicity when you see all these people who see and know they've all been exposed to this thought pattern of black people are here, low, right? And it is okay to treat them this way and that way, like they aren't significant and they aren't anybody, and we can rape the hell out of Africa together. You see what I'm saying? So if you're not going to start there, if you're not going to start with the bolts and the screws that they apply as an economic system to degrade and deprive the black community and black nations, right? If you don't get rid of them screws and bolts right there, you're not going to get rid of them for the Caucasian community, for the Asian community, nobody else. All this, I want to do things to make the world a better place. All that talk, when you ain't trying to start with the black community, you fooling yourself. So BlackTax, that's what it is, okay? BlackTax is where it is. You need to get this entity up where this consciously funding collective arises suddenly. You guys need to do it quick, fast, and hairy, right? Because as you fund these things to exist in your communities where people can spend their money more, I mean, without having to spend, where their money can last a lot longer because they have things in their communities that they don't have to pay for, it gives more people reasons to contribute to these entities like BlackTax. And as that happens, then you can finally purchase your communities. You know how black people always talk about, we got to buy our land, we got to start buying our own towns, right? And when you do that, then you make sure there's people in place and learn the routines to keep that community self-sufficient. You see? You want to learn the routines of autonomy. The routines are what will sustain you when there is no more money. Oh, you got to hear me. I don't know if you heard me, but you got to hear what your boy talking about, right? Because right now, if the government said we're no longer using money, we're done for, right? All y'all still going to be ass out because you don't own no resources. And the government going to say, you got to clap. You still got to dance to my tune because you don't own none of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to still be getting pimped. You all right, man, right? You still gonna be getting pimped because you don't own nothing out here. You ain't placed yourself in the position to manage your own relationship with the resources, so you're gonna still be got. So I'm trying to tell you, this is the way you do it. You get a lot of people on board. You gotta start putting these barbershops in your communities, cutting people hair for free. So people say, how he able to cut hair free? How he able to do that? You need to start contributing and sending some money to entities that's making it happen. Right? And as we began to do that within the millions, right, then we turn around and buy this land and buy this town, right? And we pay these people to live in those towns, to learn the routines. I'm talking about if we have to have, how are we going to use our water? If we're going to bring it from the sea, build our own distillation system, and then our distillation system and our infiltration system, because you need both of them if you're bringing water from the sea. If we're going to do it like that, then that's one of the things that's going to make us responsible instead of outsource, make us responsible for handling our resources to keep fresh and clean water in our communities. If we're going to come up with some technology to harness some electricity for ourselves, that's going to make us dependent upon ourselves right from the source. See what I'm saying? We need to learn all these things. We need to be front and center with the routines that it's going to make us self-sufficient. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? If you're the kind of person, you know how to build tiles straight from the dirt, boom. You know how to create a relationship with these people over there in Africa that's doing all this mining. You know what I'm saying? Because at some point, you're going to have to set yourself as a mining crew somewhere on this earth. Get these metals. Send these metals to be melted down and then stripped into little wires and stuff. We got companies and factories that do all this stuff. We have to be all of this or establish allies that are going to do this for us just so we can use all this stuff in our towns without being interrupted because we don't have no money. You see what I'm saying? Hey, this is the picture. This is the bigger picture, and this is the thing that your people's not telling you about. They don't want to talk to you about these kinds of things, right? Everybody want to jump into the business world without talking about, I'm a business that contributes to entities that are aiming to establish an autonomous element in the black community. If you ain't aiming to establish yourself as an autonomous, a completely independent element within the black community, you really lying to the people. You really have a capitalistic mentality. You know what I'm saying? You really is all about that money, the way you have been conditioned to be, right? And you don't know how to jump off on no other type of lingo. So you heard it from your boy. I'm trying to tell you what it is. Other people trying to tell you other things. They're really trying to drop that spin off on you. They're wasting your time. I'm trying to tell you, don't let people waste your time. People come up to you and try to tell you about the positive stuff they're doing in their community, and they want you to contribute. You need to ask them one simple question. Are you contributing to an entity that's giving back to the black community on this and that level, on the levels I just spoke to you about? And if they can't say, you need to hold them accountable and say, why should I support you? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you do deserve a big house. You do deserve a big luxury car. But you also need to be contributing along with the collective in our direction for autonomy, complete autonomy, to be completely independent, so that if they shut the monetary system down right now, we'll still be good to go. Because a lot of y'all still around here, if somebody asks you if they stop using money, would you get up and go to work? A lot of you gonna still say, no, I'm gonna go to work. You ain't gonna run that restaurant? You gonna be like, no, they better learn how to start cooking at home. Because you don't understand what we do to contribute quality in our communities. They can't pay us to do the things that we do right now, to run restaurants, gas stations, convenience stores, right? To make life convenient to us. You can't pay us to do that. You can't pay us to do what we're gonna do anyway, to bring quality to our own community. We was gonna build cars anyway. You can't pay us to do that. You can't pay us to evolve. So I'm telling you, all this money stuff is a trap. You still enslaved, right? You think you free in a land that's supposed to be free, and you ain't. Hey man, you gotta do something about the hanger, because you've been hung up on already. They hung you up, left you right there under conditional means, and I'm trying to get you to see the breakthrough right now. You need to break through this conditioning that they done set us up on, and you need to spread the word to your people, man, because this is what it is. BlackTax. I ain't gonna talk to you to death. I'm out.
Controlling our own lives, waking up, upholding our own lives. C-O-L, we calling the ancients to save us. I-V-E, C-O-L, we calling the ancients and they gave us. I-V-E, BlackTax. For your solution, BlackTax is your solution. BlackTax, your solution. Black